A lot of times we see a subject that is just real busy, but we really want to paint it, but we don't know where to start. Well, I have a little idea that might help you out there. Well, there are a lot of tools you can use for this, but ones I found that really work well, two Tombow pens. First of all, the Tombow N15, that's the black one, and then the Tombow N65, that's a gray one. You can get these on Amazon or probably any art supply or maybe office supply store. But anyway, they're good little tools to help solve the problems that I'm talking about. In a subject like this, a whole lot going on. There's apples in there, and there are leaves in there, and there's light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, and you might not know where to start. Well, start out with the thing that's clearest to you first. Whatever shape you can see that's clear, you have no doubt about, start with that shape. Now, in the interest of time, I'm not going to try to do this whole composition. I'm just going to take one image here and show you how you might make that work, or one image that has some clutter around it, and show you how you might make that work. Now, if you're using, you can start out with the Tombow black pen, and let's see, if I started with this image right here, well, I can see that, and place that image, I can see that that is easy to see. So one thing I like to do is when it's an image that's round, rather than to make it a round image, I like to place it with angle marks like this. Just sort of place it. And by placing it, I mean you're saying this is where that image goes. Alright, so that's your first step. Now, the next thing we'll want to do, well, let's see, we have that leaf that's interfering there, so you might indicate just the edge. Now, I want to make a little point here. Tracing is not the way to go. If you have been depending upon tracing images, putting them in a projector and tracing them, you're really robbing yourself a lot of joy of really discovering what can be done with images. So I suggest you throw that projector away or give it to Goodwill, and let's start working with discovering what images are made of. Alright, now so I have two images here that I simply have placed with the black pen. The next thing I want to do is to divide those into, or to find the shadow areas of those. So I would simply just move in and say, okay, what areas are in shadow? And within these images, I start within the images to define the shadows first. So I may start within this leaf. This back side of this leaf is in shadow, so I'll take my gray Tombow pen and simply cover all the area that is in shadow with the gray pen. Now, behind that area, things are in shadow too. So I can use my gray Tombow pen to indicate that shadow that's behind there. I see a little bit of light popping in right here, so I'll just leave that little light. I'll just leave it like that and continue to come in over next to the apple there with indicating this is shadow. I look above that leaf. Above that leaf, more shadow. So you see now, by having the line, having the black line there that shows me where the edge of the leaf is, although the whole thing is in shadow, the positive part of the leaf is in shadow, the negative part, or the background, or whatever you want to call it, is in shadow. But by having that dark line there, I still have the image of the leaf, and so I take away the confusion. So I can move throughout the image, or throughout the entire piece, whatever I want to include in my design here. I can move throughout that just by taking those steps, where I find the shapes that are clearest to me, then I place the shadows within those shapes and around those shapes. Now you see here there is all this stuff right in here is in shadow. So the whole thing goes in shadow. And now if I wanted to, I could say, okay, that stuff up there, that's really not necessary. So I could just say, all right, let's just throw it all in shadow. And then if I want to make a suggestion of that area of the leaves or the twigs or whatever that are in that area, if I want to show that, I can show that as in shadow, but give it not very much value contrast, and then it won't have that confusing feeling to it. So I would move around, continue to move around through the entire composition, doing the same thing. I would do the same thing within the apple. The apple itself, well, a major part of the apple, as you can see, is in shadow. And the shadow starts about right here and moves around. I've got the wrong one. Be sure to have the black one, because if you don't do the edges of the shadows and the images in black, it will go away when you show where the shadows are. So I would just take that black pen, move around, and indicate just what's in shadow, and so something like that. And then within the image of the apple, I indicate shadow, and I've got that. So I have it delineated. I have the edges defined there, and I can keep the shape of my apple. Throw it all in shadow. So you could just build your design one step at a time. And I'm going to make that just a little bit. I'm going to make the edge a little bit more defined here, because I almost lost it right there. A little bit more defined. And then I would move around, continue to move around, and define shadow. Now there's some light, there's a piece of light right in there. If I want to keep that piece of light, then I'll work around it. And of course, in essence, what we're doing is forming a kind of no-tan as an underpainting, but because it is, when we finish, you continue that process. You don't need to see me to do the whole thing. I've shown you how to do it now, but you continue that process throughout, and I would just take it one shape at a time, moving in this direction, or moving maybe in this direction and that direction, whatever feels right to you. Then if you do that, you will discover you have all your shadow fields laid out. You have all your fields that are not in shadow laid out. Then it's just a matter of defining or working those areas in the colors and values that you see being expressed in those shadow fields. So you know that anything that is in a light field would not be defined with a shadow value. So I'm about to get too complicated, but give that a try. And if you found this quick tip helpful, why not explore our full-length instructional videos? At DianneMize.com, we have over 100 tutorials, full-length video tutorials, and DVDs too, for you to select from, so give it a try. And there's your quick tip.